What's up, guys? Today I'm going to try something a little bit different. We're going to talk about diagnosing a misfire and the techniques, and there's a lot that can go into this. It's not as simple as it may look. So I'm probably going to break this up into several videos. So let me know what you think and if there's any particular thing that you want me to answer within this or whatever. But today we are going to be talking about diagnosing a single cylinder misfire on Codes Explained. So today, for demonstration purposes, we're going to be looking at my 2005 Pontiac Grand Prix. Pretty much all fuel injected engines are going to be similar enough that this will work. So what we're talking about today is single cylinder misfires. Now, there's a couple different ways you may come into this. One, you've had a check engine light come on that has a code for a single cylinder misfire. That's the easiest, best way to go into it. Or you have a misfire and no check engine light. Now, let me very quickly go over a couple things you should do. If you have no check engine light, which means you also have nothing pointing you in the direction of the correct cylinder, then the first thing you're going to need to determine is which cylinder is misfiring. The easiest way to do that, if you don't have the ability to do a cylinder balance test, is to go right in here. If you look right here, these are the fuel injectors right here and right there. You can go one cylinder at a time while it's running and unplug one of these. And if you have a single cylinder misfire, one of them, when you unplug it, will make no change in how the engine runs. When you find that cylinder, that's the cylinder that you need to diagnose. Now, if, however, you have a check engine light with a code for a specific cylinder, that cuts your diagnostic time down because you already know what cylinder you're looking at. So let's say, for example, you have a cylinder 3 misfire code on this car, which I don't, but just for sake of example here. This is cylinder number 3, the middle one down here. Now, anytime you're diagnosing a misfire, what you're going to be looking for is one of 3 things to be missing. You have to have fuel, spark, and compression to make a cylinder fire. So if it's misfiring, it's missing one of those 3. So the entire point is just to figure out which one you're missing. So the first thing I would look at would be spark. Spark is fairly easy to find. Now, depending on what setup you have ignition-wise, there's going to be different things to look at, but we're just going to be talking today about how to determine whether or not you have spark. Now, the easiest way, if you have no tools to do this with, is to take this spark plug wire and this spark plug out. If you can take something and clamp or lay the spark plug to where it's laid against a ground with the spark plug wire still attached to it, then stand back and don't touch it or it will shock the crap out of you. Have someone turn the engine over and see if it sparks. If it sparks, you have spark. If it doesn't, you don't, and you need to look into the ignition system to try to determine why you don't. If, though, you do have spark, then we're going to move on to the second thing. The second thing that we're going to look at is compression. Compression is very easy to test from this same situation, but you will need a compression tester, and I will try to put a link to all the tools that I'm talking about down in the description of this video so you guys can see what I'm talking about. But with the spark plug still out, the compression tester has a hose basically that's going to screw into this spark plug hole, come out to a gauge. Then you're going to have someone turn the engine over and you're going to watch and see what number, how much compression it builds up. Now, the best way to do it, because each engine is going to be a little different, but most healthy engines are between 150 and 200 PSI. But the best way to do it, say in this situation, would be test all 3 of these cylinders. And what you're looking for is that they're all very close to the same. If you go to test them and this has 150 and this has 150 and this one has 45, then you know you have a compression problem. Compression problems can come from a lot of different areas. Timing issues, although that would affect the entire engine, not a single cylinder. But valve train problems, because if air can't get in or can't get out, then it can't make compression. Piston problems, head gaskets being blown, any of those sorts of things can cause that. And in a separate video, we'll get into what to do once you know you have a compression problem. But that's going to be how you know whether or not you do have a compression problem. Now, if you pull them all, they're all even, that's a good number, everyone's happy, then you're going to move on to your last thing, and that's going to be to check fuel. And once again, we're back to the fuel injectors at this point. There's a couple different things you can do to make sure that you have fuel. And you can actually, I have seen people who will stick a hose down in the spark plug hole, turn the car over a few times and see if you've got any, if you smell fuel. I'm not sure that that's what I would recommend doing, but there are a few other things you can do. You can take a mechanic stethoscope and put against the injector to listen for it clicking. If it's not clicking, that's a pretty surefire sign you have a problem. But even if it is clicking, doesn't necessarily mean that you have fuel. But if you've come this far and you know the other two are good, then you pretty much know fuel is missing. So the next thing I would do is get what's called a Noid light. And you can pick these up in sets from Harbor Freight, Amazon, anywhere. And what you're going to do is unplug one of the injectors, just like this, and the Noid light will actually go inside here. It'll plug into this right there, and then when you turn the engine over, you can watch it flash, and that'll tell you that the car is firing that injector. Once you know that the car is trying to fire the injector, and that rules out your wiring problems, then you can move on to whether or not fuel is actually making it out the end of the fuel injector. Now, if you have multiple cylinders misfiring or all of them misfiring off and on, then I would move to checking fuel pressure, which you can do with a fuel pressure gauge right here at the Schrader valve, because that could be something that could affect the whole engine. But if you only have one cylinder misfiring, then the only thing that only one cylinder has is this injector. In which case, the easiest thing to do is test this with a Noid light. If it's good, pull the rail up, pull this injector out. You can take a 9-volt battery and jump little wires to the prongs on this injector and get it to click open. And you can, if it's clicking, you can either put a hose on the end of it or just clean it really good and put your mouth on the end of it if you have to, and try to blow through it and jump those wires to that. And when it clicks open, you should be able to blow through it. When it's not, you shouldn't be able to. So if it's clicked open and you still can't blow through it, then you're looking at a stopped up injector, in which case you should replace that injector. If you jump power to it and it doesn't click and is not opening at all, that's also a bad injector. So it's time to replace the injector. Now, as far as the fuel system goes, I won't do a video on that for a single cylinder misfire because it's pretty much can only be an injector. The rest of the fuel system is shared by the entire engine. So if it's got a problem in one cylinder, it's going to have a problem in all cylinders. So that will get you started in trying to figure out what's misfiring and why. I don't want this video to be very long though, so I'm not going to go any further into these. But in separate videos, I will go into what to do if the compression is low and how you would then check from there to figure out what the problem is. And then also what to check next if you have an ignition problem and you're not getting spark down there. But hopefully this was still informative. If it was, and if you want to see more of these videos, make sure you hit the like button so that I know that you guys like this kind of content. Drop me a comment if there's anything I missed or something else you want me to go over. And make sure you're subscribed so you see the next one. Thank you so much for watching, and peace. And it is time for the return of viewers' rides submissions. Today's car, we're going to be featuring a car submitted by Brian. I don't have much of a story on this. Judging by the wheels and stuff, I'm guessing this is around an 02 or an 03 or something like that. But I'm going to, for the most part, let the pictures speak for themselves. It is always good to see a black 6th gen. I love this color on these cars. It reminds me of the Problem Child. And other than that, I'm just going to kind of let you guys look at these pictures and see what you think. And remember to send your car to salemdoylesubs@gmail.com to be featured in a future episode.